Disney's Kilimanjaro Safaris at Disney's Animal Kingdom theme park, October 1st, 2025.
We say here in Harambe is Twin Day, and that means let's go. Jumbo everyone, welcome to Kilimanjaro Safaris. My name is Annabelle, and I'm going to be your driver around the Harambe Wildlife Reserve for your safari adventure today. Now, just as a few quick reminders before we get going, please keep all hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the truck at all times. As well as that, please remain seated at all times, even while the truck is not in motion. We are going to head down this hill here, through the gates up ahead. Our first stop today on the reserve. That first stop is the place we like to call the Little Ituri Forest. Now, you are going to notice a lot of tree cover here in the forest. That means a lot of places for animals to hide and blend in. So animals out here are going to rely primarily on their camouflage as their main form of defense against predators. Now, I do already have a couple, though, not really playing hide and seek too well. We got two large animals on your right walking around. Those are called the okapi. I did see a bird over on your left. You might be hiding behind some of those trees, but there was a saddle-billed stork up there, if you were able to see him. Oh yeah, if you look over your left shoulder, you'll see a black and white bird. Again, saddle-billed stork. We'll focus on those okapi for the time being, though. They do have some pretty fancy pants on them. Now, the stripes you see over there might remind you of a zebra, but they are in fact going to be more closely related to the giraffe. They have very similar skeletal structures and long prehensile tongues, just like giraffe out on the savannah do. And they're very shy, very reclusive animals. So much so, scientists didn't even know they existed until 1901. It's when the first one was spotted out in the wild. As we head a little bit deeper into the reserve, making our way up towards the first of many water animals we're going to be seeing today. It looks like we've got a couple around this one already. They're in your left, facing away from you. Not the most flattering angle, but that is the largest animal here in the forest, the black rhinoceros. Now, despite being the largest animal out here in the forest, they're also the smallest of the 5 rhino subspecies, only weighing in at around 3,000 pounds. Only. They do also have 2 horns on the front of their head made of keratin. That is the same stuff that your hair and nails is made of. So, those horns are going to keep growing throughout the rhino's life, just like a big fingernail would. Oh, there's another one. He's on the ridge to your left, and just before this ridge is an antelope. Orange one walking around. This is called a bongo. Also a pretty shy animal. Bongo are often referred to as the ghosts of the forest because of how very rarely they're seen out here. So pretty cool to be seeing them right now. Also on your left, one more antelope before we head out of the forest. That is going to be the greater kudu. Just like the bongo, they've got stripes along their back. That's what they use as their form of camouflage. The stripes are meant to mimic rays of the sun coming through the forest canopy, and that makes them really, really tricky to spot under some of these trees. Now we're starting to head out of the Little Ituri Forest, moving on into a much more aquatic ecosystem next, the Safi River. Now the river, as you might imagine, is going to be home to a lot of those really aquatic type animals. So now we're looking for things like hippopotamus or crocodile. There's a few pink-backed pelicans over there on your right-hand side. Those pelicans get their name from the pink coloring along their feathers. It's not super bright right now. It's going to get a little bit more vibrant during mating season, though. Kind of like they're blushing. We're going to turn here, see if we can find you any hippos as we continue through the river. They're pretty large animals, so they're kind of hard to miss. They can weigh around 5,500 pounds. It's around the same size as your average mid-size SUV. Now, because of that size, hippos are not very good swimmers, even despite how much time they spend in the water. They sink right down to the bottom. So, instead, you're going to notice they'll walk or run along the bottom of the rivers they live in, kind of like a horse would. That's actually how they get their name, hippopotamus. It's a Latin word that means river horse. I don't think I'm seeing any hippos still here to our left. However, this bridge up ahead, this is called Croc Bridge, and already there in your left. I think I maybe figured out why we call it that. Down there, quite a few Nile crocodile. Now, Nile crocodile are the largest crocodilian here in Africa. They're going to be the second largest on the planet, just a little bit smaller than the American crocodile. You'll see some of them have their mouths open too. That's a way for them to regulate their temperature. They're not actually trying to eat you, despite what it might seem. They're just very bad at cooling down on their own. So they open up their mouths to release heat from their body back out into the atmosphere. Helps to keep them a little bit cooler in the very humid river. Heading out of that river, moving into the largest portion of the reserve, next the savannah. Savannah is going to be home to a lot of really familiar faces: giraffe, zebra, elephants, lions. Those are some of the animals we'll be taking a look around for now. Also, once we turn, you're going to notice a lot less trees. Now, the trees you do see out here do have to make several adaptations in order to survive the warmer and drier climates experience all the time, including this one on our right. Big, funky looking tree. It's got a funky name to match. It's called the baobab tree. Now, baobabs like that remain leafless for around 9 months, and they store tons of water in those really big chunks of theirs. Kind of like big water towers, they're going to provide that water to animals all across the savanna during the dry season. And because of that, you'll sometimes hear them referred to by their other name, the Tree of Life, which might sound familiar to some of you. As we start to head down this hill, you're about to see one of my favorite views on the entire reserve. It lets you see out far across the savanna in front of you. Might give you a little preview as well of some of the animals we're going to try to get you a little bit closer to here in just a second. Looks like we've got a few scattered around on the other half of the savanna, so we're going to start to pull around in that direction, get you closer. Remember, if something's unfamiliar to you, you can take a look at that guide above your head and try to figure out what it is before we get you up there and learn a little bit more about them. We're going to see here if there's anything coming up to our left-hand side. Is it raining right now?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Sorry, I'm a little distracted. We got a big den of rocks, pretty suitable habitat, usually for some predators. I don't think I see any predators around it right now. However, a lot of predators out here are what's called nocturnal or crepuscular. That means that they're much more active throughout the nighttime or dawn and dusk when it's a little bit cooler. Not as many things active in the middle of the day around here because they get so hot and they don't like to move around when it's that hot. No predators over there. However, on your left, another antelope species. It's a dark brown one called sable antelope. They get their name from their sable brown color. And you'll notice those long curved horns they have on their head. They're going to use those to protect themselves from their predators. Sable antelope are actually one of the few antelope species documented to fight their predators off rather than running from them. Pretty cool when you see them turn and fight off a lion, which they have been known to do. Another antelope over here on your left-hand side, there's two of them. It's large tan-colored ones. Those are called eland. Eland are actually the largest antelope out here on the savanna. This one right here is the female. The male's a little bit further ahead there. Male eland can weigh 2,200 pounds. They're like big tanks. Now, despite that size, very good jumpers. They actually have a vertical of around 8 feet straight up into the air from a standing position. Now, I see where the rain's coming from. Big dark cloud up there. Those male eland, to impress their girlfriends, have kind of a funny dance that they do. Not really a dance, but they'll swirl their horns around into the undergrowth, the bushes and leaves out here, and they'll create a flower crown of sorts. They'll then present that flower crown to their lady friends, and if she likes it, she'll accept him in the mating bond. If not, she will destroy that flower crown and reject him. It's a very harsh breakup. Now, also with that eland on your left-hand side, that is an Ankole cow. Those horns are about 8 feet across, but they're not terribly heavy. They only weigh around 12 pounds. They're very hollow on the inside of them. They're like big air conditioning units on their head. There's a lot of blood vessels up in there, and when the wind catches those horns, it's going to help to cool off that blood before it's then transported back down to the rest of their body. That really helps them beat the heat out here on the savanna. Ooh, we got a couple really familiar faces up around this corner. There is some wildebeest on the hill to our right, but we're going to try to get you up here and get you a little bit closer look at some of these giraffes on our left-hand side. Oh, cool. I have a few giraffes, including a little baby giraffe over there. Let's pause right here just a second so you can get a look at the group. Ooh, that's bright. A group of giraffe like this is kind of an interesting name. We do call them a tower of giraffe. And I do think that is pretty fitting for the tallest animal on land. Gonna stand about 18, 20 feet tall. They're tallest, about 6 feet when they're first born. So the joke is that little baby right there is not that little. He's taller than everyone on this truck already. Now, some of my favorite facts about giraffe, they eat a ton. They snack around 22 hours out of every single day. They actually eat so much out of their day, they don't have very much time to sleep. Giraffe will only sleep around 30 minutes every single day. Usually in 2 to 5 minute power naps, and usually standing up, so they can run from predators at a moment's notice if they need to. I'm pulling up here in between some wildebeest. We're kind of threading the needle between them. This is going to be one of the most prevalent animals that lives out here on the savannah. Every year, 1.5 million of these wildebeest will travel hundreds of miles across this place in search of water. That is the largest land migration on the planet, known as the Great Migration. Oh no, let's get you down in this direction, because I do see a pretty big animal coming up. Now he's right now headed to the other side of some of these rocks and trees that are in front of us, but I think we'll be able to catch a view of him just on the other side of this water. Let's get you down here. There is an elephant. And right now he's heading around to the other side of those rocks, but we're going to wait here for just a second. We'll see if he completely goes out to the other side. Maybe if he keeps moving. Possibly. Maybe he's parked himself. Maybe we'll pull up here, see if we can get you a view from the other side of this watering hole. That is the biggest animal here on the reserve, biggest animal on land too. Males like that one can weigh 13,000 pounds. There he is. He's starting to move a little bit again. Females do usually cap out at around 8,000, so still a pretty large animal. Just not quite as big as these boys are. About to come out, almost there. There he is. He's just taking his time. Now males like that are also pretty solitary. That's why I'm assuming that's a male. Not just because of his size, but because he is out here on his own. Males don't usually like to hang out with others. There's one way off in the distance over there. You might be able to see him too over that ridge. A little bit closer though. These are the greater flamingo. The largest subspecies of flamingo, also one of the palest pinks. And they get that fabulous pink coloring of theirs from beta-carotene. That's a protein that they eat in their diet. Comes from a lot of krill, a lot of other crustaceans, helps to turn in that nice, pretty pink color. Now headed through these red rocks. This is going to be the barrier between the western and easternmost regions of the savannah. It's getting a little bit muddier up ahead, a little bit rockier. A little terrain change. A lot of animals really like this terrain. One in particular could be rhinos. That could be what we're looking for. They like the muddy pits that they find all around here. They'll roll around in that pit, use that mud to cool down and as a form of natural sunscreen. Protects their skin from the sun. Also, something else you might find out here in the East Savannah is going to be big cats. Predators that like to jump up on top of the high rocks out here use those rocks as a lookout point to help them search the savannah for prey. So we'll keep our eyes peeled. So you can find you anything like cheetah, maybe some lions, if we're really lucky. Because around the time of day they would be waking up. So let's see if they're out and about right now. I do see something. Over here to your left, there's two of them laying on the far side of this ridge. There's two cheetah right there. See if we can get you a view maybe through the gap in the tree right here. That is, of course, the fastest animal on the land. It can reach speeds of 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds, capping out at around 70. And they're actually one of the few predators out here that's going to hunt during the daytime rather than the nighttime. Just like as people, they are diurnal. That's the big fancy word for that. And while that is a pretty large cat back there, I see a bigger one coming up on these rocks ahead. These are Kopi rocks, and on these Kopis are a pride of some lions. You can see him from this side, but then we'll head around to the other side. See if we can get you another look at that male. Alright, he's starting to move around. Let's get you a look at him from the front. Now, if you've ever seen the movie The Lion King, these Kobe rocks right here might look a little bit familiar to you. They might maybe remind you of Pride Rock. Same concept. Oh, they're going to use these rocks to hunt a lot of the time. More often than not, you're going to see them up there sleeping. They're just like any cat. They rest a lot, anywhere from 16 to 20 hours every single day. So much so they're only awake for around 3 years of their entire life. Let's go see what this female is doing back here. She's going to do most of the hunting, keep the pride fed. Male lions remain behind to defend the territory. Oh, go on bed. They keep any cubs in this pride safe from any offending male lions. Oh, that's a pretty cool sight right there. Again, they are nocturnal, so probably just waking up. We were just able to catch them right at the beginning of their day. Now, more often than not, though, you will hear a lion before you see one. They do have really powerful roars. Can be heard from nearly 5 miles away. They're so loud. Looks like maybe one last animal for us before we start to move out of the savannah. Over there on your right is a brown shaggy antelope. Those are some waterbuck. A waterbuck are kind of an underappreciated antelope in my opinion. They're really, really cool. Love water, as their name suggests. One of the few antelope species that will drink water every single day. Might not sound like a lot, but most antelope out here will go days without drinking water, so you've got to stay hydrated for them. And one more thing over here on your right, down the path. There's a whole bunch of eggs. That does look like a nest of some ostrich eggs down there. Looks like there's 6 of them. Now, ostrich are going to lay their eggs right on the ground like that. Not going to construct a nest like most birds. Now, dominant female will lay hers towards the center of the clutch to protect hers. They're very sturdy. They're so tough that if you took a fully grown human adult, have them stand on it, those shells would be able to withstand that weight and not crack under the pressure. Now we are nearing the outskirts of the savannah, moving on into our next and final stop on the reserve, a place called the Kidani Glen. Now the Glen, in my opinion, home to one of the most fearsome, one of the most treacherous, one of the most terrifying animals that lives here on the reserve. The Nigerian dwarf goose. A lot of villagers like to keep these guys around because they do produce a pretty sweet milk. Can be used for some additional profit. I like to think they keep them around though because look at them. They're super cute. Even when they find themselves in places they don't belong. They are very good climbers, so you never know where you're going to find them out here. Now, as we head through this gate in front of us, that means we're officially going to be leaving the reserve and unfortunately nearing the end of our safari. As we head back down to the village, though, I am going to take this time to get a little bit more serious with y'all, because the harsh reality is that a lot of the animals you just saw are threatened or endangered in some way. And a lot of that's due to human involvement, unfortunately. So, conservation is something that's more important than it ever has been before. I know you all may be thinking, what can one person do to possibly make a difference? Feels super overwhelming. The answer is a lot simpler than you'd probably first expect. It's as easy as turning off light switches when you leave the room, or shutting off water that's not in use, like when you're brushing your teeth. A lot of little things like that when put together make a huge difference. I like to think of it not only as our job to protect the earth, but rather our privilege too. Because we love the animals out here, we want to make sure they stick around as long as possible for our future generations and for ourselves to enjoy. Now we are getting you closer to the village. In just a second, we're going to be dropping y'all off at that first dark dock we started at. So sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. I'm going to give our warden a call, let him know that we're on our way back up. We'll set y'all free up there in just a couple of moments. I do hope you all enjoyed your safari today. Enjoyed seeing a lot of the animals out there as much as I enjoyed talking about them. Of course, so if you got any questions, comments, concerns about anything you saw or heard out there, my windows are quite literally always open. So feel free to pop your head in after. Even if you just want to say hi, you are more than welcome to do so. Now we are going to pass one more dock of people here to our right. And our next one is coming up here as soon as the warden clears off this truck that's at the dock. We will be good to pull forward. This we're going to set y'all free for the remainder of your evening. Yeah, looks like the woman is about to send her off. Now, once again, everyone, my name is Annabelle. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. It has been a pleasure having you on board with me here tonight. Here on the reserve, though, we don't like to say farewell. It's a little too sad, far too final, so instead we say Kwaherini. And it's a Swahili phrase that means to go well. So I do invite you all to go well, go wild, and most importantly, everyone, go and make a difference out there. You got it, Warden. Everyone on the right-hand side, watch those hands, arms, feet, and legs. Your doors are opening. Watch your step as you're exiting the truck. Kwaherini, everyone. Have a great rest of your night out there in Animal Kingdom.